Welcome back to another deep dive. Today we're talking about one of the most hyped protocols around at the moment, Prisma Finance. Now, a lot of you have been messaging me. It's been all over crypto Twitter, so I think let's just jump straight into it. Let's not waste time. We're going to talk about everything that you need to know about Prisma. So we've got a lot to cover today. First of all, we're going to cover a little bit about liquid staking tokens. Some of you guys watching might be new to this. You might be new to DeFi, and so you'll get some benefit watching this just by looking at some of the recaps behind that. And then we'll dive into Prisma itself, talking about the mechanics, the costs, the metrics, the yields, the token itself. Audit team partners, competition, bull and bear case as we always like to do, and then some conclusion at the end. So yeah, lots to cover today, but hopefully by the end you should be very familiar with what Prisma is offering and how it works. So the first thing that we need to kind of cover is a little bit about what liquid staking tokens are. Now, many of you watching might be familiar with this, so I will leave timestamps in the description below, so you can navigate the video according to what you want to watch. We'll just briefly cover this. So back in 2022, Ethereum transitioned from proof of work to proof of stake. That meant that ETH can now be staked. Now, as a result, some different protocols, many different protocols, in fact, decided to run their own validators. And essentially, they created these protocols where users can deposit ETH directly to them, stake with them, and they get issued this kind of IOU token. And we've seen many protocols do this, the likes of Lido, Rocket Pool, even Coinbase and Binance, as well as Frax, issue their own liquid staking token. There's a number of benefits to this. Number one, you can get a yield-bearing asset. So for example, with Lido, they issue ST-ETH, staked ETH, which is this yield-generating asset. So you can earn the yield that you would get from staking ETH, but you get the extra composability that having an asset like that normally gives you. And that is, you can use it for lending markets, you can use it across DeFi and a wide variety of strategies. And the LSD market has, because of this, been one of the biggest categories of DeFi ever since. Currently, it is over $20 billion in total value locked, and I anticipate this to only grow because the products are getting better, the protocols are getting better, and they're creating more and more innovation. And that results in a lot of demand for lots of these liquid staking derivatives, or tokens, I should say. So, one question that people have, why hold vanilla ETH when you can hold an LST and earn yield? It's a very fair point. It is not entirely risk-free, but again, we'll talk about that another time. I've talked about it on my channel, on Twitter and on YouTube many times, so perhaps go and have a look at that sort of stuff if you're new to it. There's lots of really good content about liquid staking tokens. But it's really important that you understand this whole concept, because then you really grasp the idea of that Prisma are offering. And they're offering this idea of an LST backed stablecoin. That's what Prisma is all about. So they've got a stablecoin that's called MKUSD, and it's minted by using these LST tokens as collateral. So you take your ETH LST, let's say ST-ETH or RETH or FraxETH, you deposit it as a collateral, and you can mint this new stablecoin MKUSD against it. It's over collateralized, it's a dollar pegged stablecoin, and of course is backed by these ETH LSTs. So how does the protocol actually make a profit with all of this? Well, there are fees associated with it. There's minting fees, redemption fees, and there's obviously interest for loans as well. And this is pretty much what it looks like. So you can go to the platform, you can say, you've got some wrapped ST-ETH, or you've got some Coinbase CB-ETH. You can basically just deposit it, and then you can mint this MKUSD against it. You need a minimum collateral ratio of 110%. So that means you can kind of get a lot for your deposit. And the question is, why would you want to do this? Well, of course, you can earn yield from your ETH, because these tokens earn yield. Staked FraxETH, CB-ETH, RETH, wrapped ST, they're earning the staking yield. So you can earn yield. It's also on Prisma, it's currently cheaper than other lending markets. You can see the minting fee here and the borrow fee. I mean, look at the rate at the moment that you're getting for borrowing. It's like 1%, and the minting fee being less than 1%. Very cheap. I mean, look, this is Aave, and this is the rate that you get nowadays in DeFi because of all the T-bill strategies that we have in DeFi today. So you're talking 5-6% that it costs to borrow stables nowadays in DeFi, and here you can get it at a fraction. And lastly, of course, you can farm some tokens alongside, and we love farming, and you can see just some of the APRs on screen there. Ultimately, that results in the 3 M's: make more money. You can see that Prisma's vaults are very, very popular. They've actually been filling up literally immediately, and even yesterday, a lot of the vaults just filled up instantly. So we'll talk about that in a bit more detail. Now, have you heard of this model before? Some of you guys watching definitely have. This is the same model that Liquidity have. Liquidity have been around for a long, long time. They've got probably one of the most decentralized stablecoins around. It is a pure vanilla ETH-backed stablecoin, and essentially Prisma is a Liquidity fork. It does have a few differences, obviously being the fact that we're not using ETH, we're using ETH LSTs, but ultimately there are many similarities there. So yeah, always good to know that. So how does Prisma work in reality? So you basically, as we mentioned, you take your LST token and you can borrow MKUSD against it. Now you need a minimum of $2,000 MKUSD and a minimum collateral ratio of 120% for some of these assets. For some of them, it's 110%. A maximum, I should say, not minimum, maximum collateral ratio. Of course, that couldn't be the minimum. They do have this liquidation reserve. So basically, when a vault is opened, a sum of 200 MKUSD is reserved and held back by the protocol, and that's used to serve the gas costs incurred by the liquidator if the price of these ETH LSDs rapidly drops. Your vault gets liquidated. There are gas fees associated with that, so that's what this 200 MKUSD is for. It is completely refundable, and so if you were to close the vault, you'll get that back. And MKUSD can actually be redeemed for its collateral. You can do that directly on the app itself. You can see here, you can see lots of all the different vault owners actually, and you can see what their collateral ratio is. And yeah, if these collateral ratios go down, below 120, below 110%. Depending on the vault, then you can actually liquidate them. So you can see currently on screen, I was just trying it out. I entered 1,000 MKUSD. It said the redemption is not profitable, and that's because the collateral ratio is above that level. But of course, if it did go down, you can see it's actually changed in red when it's kind of at this low level. And if it's above 150, I think it looks green. So you can kind of get an idea of what your health factor is like. You can actually redeem it then if it does go too low, and so that would be a profitable event for you. Now, MKUSD can be deposited into these stability pools, and these are basically pools that are used to buy up collateral during liquidations. So when the protocol goes into recovery mode, and it does that when the collateral ratio drops below 150%, in any case, all vaults are subject to liquidation, and that's what the stability pool is basically used for. So it's there to protect the protocol as a whole, and you can get rewarded for using the stability pool, and we'll talk about that in a moment as well. So MKUSD, one of the purposes is to use it in the stability pool. So in terms of metrics, Prisma has been a massive craze. $265 million in collateral already, over 140 million in debt. 1,000 plus vaults opened already. The vaults are just filling up instantly, and a question really comes like, where is this demand coming from? Because it really wasn't. Haven't seen many DeFi protocols, grow with such vicious TVLs in such short periods of time. It's nice to see actually, and that's probably because the yields are so good. So where are the yields coming from? Well, first of all, you can earn by minting MKUSD against your collateral, and you can see this here. So for example, if you were to mint, just look at the APRs that you're getting. You were talking like triple digit APRs across the board pretty much. So you get that. This is paid to you in the Prisma token, the governance token of the platform, and triple digit APRs, across the board, and with the really high TVLs as well. We're talking like 250 mil TVL, and you're still able to earn these triple digit APRs. Second way that you can earn is by taking your MKUSD and depositing it into the stability pool here. So it's currently got 120 million in TVL. By the time you're watching this video, it could even be higher. And again, you're earning triple digit yields, boosted if you're able to, but if not, it's still triple digit. And you earn the Prisma token there. So you can deposit your MKUSD, earn the Prisma token, claim it. This is on Ethereum mainnet, so just bear that in mind. And the third way is by actually farming on Curve or Convex. So there are a variety of different Curve and Convex pools. For some reason I've cut it off the screen, so sorry about that, but basically these are MKUSD against Frax Space Pool, MKUSD against the CRV USD, MKUSD against ETH, So yeah, lots of different options for you to basically decide. They all have like triple digit yields as well, all have like multi-million TVL as well. And if you get the boosted rewards like you will on Curve or on Convex, yeah, just look at the APRs. They're absolutely insane. So all three of the yield opportunities as of filming this video right now are offering triple digit yields, and that's very, it's rare to see. It's rare to see that. The question is, are they going to last that long? You know the answer. No, of course not. What will happen is the yields will get diluted, the TVL will just grow and grow and grow, or B, the governance tokens that are being issued out to you drop in price, which I think is the more likely option, and therefore the yields will drop down. But ultimately, I still think the yields probably will be pretty decent still. I don't think they're going to drop to 2, 3, 4%. We still should expect double-digit yields, and if that is the case, then this is actually a pretty reasonable strategy if you are able to take on the risks. Let's talk about the Prisma token, because I think this is also a really cool part of how everything works. So Prisma is the governance token. Essentially, you can lock it up for up to 52 weeks, and in doing so, you get voting power. And you can use this voting power to decide where yields go. So essentially, it's emissions voting. So, for example, if you are an LSD protocol, let's say you are Frax, and let's say you've got some Prisma tokens, and this is from the Frax protocol's perspective, you lock up your Prisma and you get some Prisma voting rewards. Well, what you might want to do if you are Frax is you might actually want to use all of your voting power for staked Frax Ether, because in doing so that makes the staked Frax Ether yields higher, and in doing so that makes people more likely to deposit their SFrax staked Frax ETH directly into Prisma, and in doing so there's more liquidity, there's more demand. It all works like that. And so yeah, they have the VE token model, lock it up for a year. You get gauge voting on emissions, and also the second bonus being governance. So the question is, as I just mentioned, will we see liquid staking ETH token issuers like Frax, Coinbase, Rocket Pool, Lido, and many of the newer, smaller ones, as they hopefully get added to Prisma, come and get Prisma token for bigger emissions so that they can grow their liquidity? Are we going to see the Prisma wars, similar to the Curve wars, but for ETH LSTs? That is a big question, and that is what a lot of people are speculating on. And that's why, as of recording, the Prisma governance token is ridiculously valued. Now, I'm pretty sure that by the time you're watching this video, this token is definitely not going to be this high. It's definitely going to be lower. But, I think in future, when we do reach that equilibrium, and it probably will be in a while, because I think there will be a lot of selling demand because the yields are so high. When we do reach that equilibrium, it's going to be really interesting to see which protocols come and try and accumulate Prisma for, their future ETH LSD that they want to issue. So yeah, that's pretty interesting. I'm not sure why this has come out like this, but essentially I just wanted to show you the distribution. I'll try and see if I can fix that. But in terms of the emissions, there's quite a decent amount of emissions, the schedule for the next 1 year anyway. So a lot of inflation. And in terms of distribution, I think most of it, the 62%, is basically for liquidity incentives. So these are all the incentives that you're seeing at the moment. The team are basically getting 20%, 5% in the treasury and things like that. So generally a pretty reasonable allocation, with most of it being as liquidity rewards. Sorry, the image has cut off like that. I'm not sure why that's happened. My apologies for that. So yeah, the Prisma token is going to be pretty interesting. It's definitely not going to be $8, because this gives it a valuation of over $2 billion. Seems outrageous at this point of the market. It's almost certainly, probably in my opinion, going to be $1, maybe even less. We'll have to wait and see. But I think we'll definitely see this bleed over time. But I think that doesn't mean that it's not going to be interesting, because I think eventually when we do reach that equilibrium, it's going to be really interesting to see which protocols enter this potential Prisma war, if any do. Of course, Prisma is backed by lots of friends and family, which are some of the biggest names in DeFi: Curve, Convex, Frax, Layer Zero. We've got CoinGecko guys. These guys are big investors, and there are a few others as well who are really interested, and I think the synergies work really well together. So they're able to pump their bags, I guess. It's good to see that there are a few different audits, 3 different audits as well. You can go and read them as well. And here's the kind of interesting part. So I see a number of people on Twitter really shilling or getting behind Prisma. And this is probably one of the reasons why it's so hyped. Firstly, the one and only Tetranode, who has been talking about Prisma for a long time. In fact, Prisma actually hit 75 million TVL without these incentives. Only with the incentives has it started going parabolic. But even then, still able to have a decent TVL. And Tetranode certainly seems like he's got some investment behind it, and also the one and only Justin Sun as well, who has potentially, I mean, this is an address linked to him, we don't know for sure that it is him, deposited over $100 million in the Prisma pool, and he's minted potentially, or whoever this wallet is has minted over $60 million of the MKUSD stablecoin. Really interesting to see that. But when you've got whales participating in these games like this, then you know that as a small fish, there's not much you can do. But yeah, I think in terms of competition, there are a few other LSD CDP protocols. We've got EUSD by Libra, Grai by Gravita, Raft as well. I think what really puts Prisma apart is, first of all, look, they've got their own treasury consisting of CRV, so they can basically ensure there's good depth of MKUSD. Prisma are a player in the curve wars. There's no question about it. We've talked about their different partnerships as well with some of the biggest names in DeFi today. As well as that, look, Convex listed Prisma as a protocol that they support. Convex is not some small fish. Convex are one of the biggest players in DeFi, and they're not gonna just list anyone. So I think they've got real support, real backers, and I think that really does play a big role in terms of growth. So we'll have to wait and see how things go, but I think at the moment things are pretty exciting for Prisma. I think we're gonna finish off by just talking about the bull and bear case, as we like to do. So I've written a few points on screen. LST tokens can have easy borrow access at lower rates. I think that's definitely a bull case for Prisma. It's cheaper to use than Aave at the moment. Plus the fact that yields are nuts. Are the yields going to continue to be nuts? I don't think so, but I think for the moment, there's big demand, and it kind of makes sense to be farming if you can afford it. There's big backers and really close connections with some of the biggest names in DeFi, the likes of Convex, Curve, Frax, CoinGecko, Tetranode, Justin Sun, Layer Zero, like literally some of the biggest names in the space at the moment, and I think that really helps. I think there's more leverage with MKUSD than LUSD. I think part of it is because there's external yields like the ETH staking rewards coming in, so that makes it certainly more attractable. Perhaps there are more risks associated with Prisma than Liquidity, but there certainly is more yields than that of Liquidity. And then the other element is that we've got the Prisma Wars. Are LST protocols going to participate? Are they going to try and accumulate Prisma tokens for their future LST that they want listed on Prisma? We'll have to wait and see. Huge demand from day one. I think that always plays a good role, especially if we are coming up to a potential bull run in the next year or so. And then I think really there's real scope for this industry to grow. I mean, we're in a $20 billion industry already. It's only growing. It's the #1 category in DeFi today, and there's so much more coming in the staking world. There's restaking by Eigenlayer. Perhaps some of those tokens can be listed on Prisma, and I think there's lots of value to capture. We're a $20 billion industry at the moment, and Prisma's captured 1% of that so far with 200 million. So I think there's a whole range of potential products and developments that can come forth, and I think TVL is likely going to go up from here. In terms of the bear case, I think if you actually look at the token itself, the Prisma token's got a massive FTV, so I'm a bit worried about if we're going to get another worthless governance token. Personally, I think the strategy at the moment is to farm and dump. There's no way that this protocol is worth $2 billion plus. I find it hard to believe that anyway. So I'm pretty sure that in future, this token is going to be worth less than $8. There's no way that it's still going to be worth $8. I think the other elements are that a lot of the early backers and investors are up. Maybe they're going to dump on you, so just bear that in mind. Mercenary farming, people like me are going to mercenary farm this for sure, like farm and dump, as I said, that's the strategy. It does feel a little bit like, summer, DeFi summer, when you could farm on Yearn and compound and earn those crazy rewards. Again, farm and dump is the strategy. A bear case being a fork of liquidity. Forks generally don't do that well. There's very few exceptions, and so that's something that I'm not the most keen on anyway. I also think like liquidity really struggles to grow, but I think maybe LSTs can bring the extra yield through the system that will enable them to grow a lot more. Do we need another token for another war? Like, can't Prisma just participate via the curve wars instead? So I think it's going to be interesting to see what happens. I'm excited to see, but I think for now anyway, the token, I wouldn't touch it. I'll happily farm and dump it, but I wouldn't touch it. So overall, what are my thoughts? I think Prisma is pretty exciting. We're basically leveraging liquidity to another level, bringing extra yields. Right now the APRs are so juicy, and that's why there's so much talk about it. But I think the actual idea is pretty interesting. Like I said, it's cheaper than Aave, so there is some use here for sure. Whether or not that stays the case in future is another question. But I think the idea is, look, you can take your LST tokens that we all like to hold nowadays, and we can borrow against it. And you know what? You don't have to hold MKUSD if you don't want to. If you can short it technically by swapping it out into USDC or DAI or something like that, and you can basically then earn yield with your stablecoin. You can leverage it up however you wish. You can leverage up by looping. It's entirely up to you. There's lots of strategies that you can do here. And I think Prisma definitely are one to watch for now anyway. So that's all I wanted to cover today. I hope we've covered a little bit about Prisma, so you know a bit about what's going on. And we'll be back with plenty more content in the near future. Smash the like button, subscribe to the channel if you're watching on YouTube. Give this a like, give it a retweet if you are on X. And we'll be back with plenty more content.